Yes, hello folks, welcome to the weekly Beyond the Pitch Manchester United show. My host is always Phil Bryant, joined with my regular co-host there, Colm who is absolutely shattered after coming back from Wembley yesterday. What's your crack, wee man? How was Wembley?
Mate, unbelievable. I just want to say before we start here, it does seem to be something wrong with StreamYard because your stream says that the broadcast is not available. So I don't know if this is actually going out to people
It's
live.
going out, there's people listening, unfortunately
But
for
I'm
them.
just unfortunately for them, but I just mean on Twitter it's not working for whatever reason. So
Okay,
technical difficulties on StreamYard's part, but mate, what a weekend,
I'll
what a
take
week for Manchester United.
unbelievable. I mean, what when you go back to the Barcelona game, you look at what happened in that game, the way United came back in that game, and the whole tie. United were behind twice. They were behind in Barcelona, came back behind at Old Trafford, came back, and they were absolutely incredible, brilliant. And I mean, what Ten Hag has done at this football club is difficult to put into words. And with someone like Casemiro, I know it was his birthday the other day, and I didn't know how to celebrate. He was getting a year older, or the morning he was getting a year older. But Jesus Christ, what a football player!
Honestly, in my opinion, one of the best signings we've made in the past 15 years. He's up there with the best signing in the past 15 years. Just his impact to everyone in the squad, his impact to the fans. He just, Rolls Royce of a player.
What
I
was the
can't
atmosphere
believe
like?
we've actually got him. The atmosphere was, I was going to get on that. I mean, like, honestly, I've been to a lot of United games. I've been to, to plenty of United away games now, and I have never experienced anything like that atmosphere. It was special. You could tell it's been 50 years since Newcastle were in a cup final. You can tell it's been a while since we've been in a cup final, and I think it was Newcastle aren't a bad club at all. They're actually a club I respect. Good football history, good people who love football in that city.
Yes.
It's not like some of these other clubs, and I don't know. There was just a special atmosphere in Wembley yesterday. I think as well, like whenever you think of a game like that and a game of that, normally in recent years, like the Carabao Cup, we probably would have shrugged uh, our heads at it and said, you know, Mickey Mouse Cup, I think we labelled it 3 years. But this is the start of something. This is the start of a revolution.
Well, it was something you could turn your nose up when United were in a wholly different position, when they were challenging for titles, whenever it was the least priority of the ones that United were capable of winning. But there's no road back to redemption without winning these trophies. And as was quite rightly pointed out, 2006 when United won the League Cup, that was really the catalyst for going on and winning other trophies. And I think back to last season and how low I felt, even think back to how I felt after Brentford. And then I think about how I felt yesterday. And I haven't felt that high since I was sniffing toys and pound stretcher, mate. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable.
Sniffing toys and fire stretchers. There's always a Phil comment comes out of this podcast. But you know what? Like we go back to that Brentford defeat, and I hate to bring it up again, but it really resonates with me that you genuinely thought that there was a chance that this team could have went down at
And
that
I don't
point.
be
And I
taken up
think
by once now because you
no,
were
no,
turning
no,
around and
no,
saying
no,
Lisandro
no.
Martinez isn't
I
good enough to
know,
start for Man
I
United.
know.
We
Look,
might
I
delve in
have my
this.
hands up.
Yeah.
We all. This is the problem with doing this live. We do say things we don't mean. But I'm
I've
not
been
talking
working
about what
harder on
you
your
said.
spell checker,
Actually,
mate. I'm telling you to dig up all the old nuggets. So go ahead, carry
no, no,
on.
no. I'm not actually referring to what you said as such. I'm making a point that that's how bad we were at that point. We were in a really bad place, and it's hard to actually think of that time now because it's been so good over the past couple of months. But we were in a really, really bad place.
Yes.
I mean, you genuinely have never thought United could have got relegated in your life. Truth.
Well, here's where it wasn't over the first two games, it was the form over the 20 games.
Yeah.
And what I said was the form over the last 22 games was legitimately relegation form. And I seriously, what I remember was saying, I couldn't remember. I couldn't see where his next 3 points were coming from. I really couldn't. I mean,
And
the
that that's
disarray.
that's the that's the crazy thing about this
I
is
know.
you genuinely you've watched United for years and you couldn't see the next 3 points and how this club has been revolutionised from top to bottom now because this isn't just the players on the pitch, this is the substitutes.
But
This is Ten Hag. There's so much more to this.
I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was thinking about twists of fate that almost didn't happen that turned out to be massive. I think about George Best when he first came over to United, he went homesick. United almost didn't sign him. I think about Cantona that was signed on a whim from, Bill Fatherby calling asking could he sign Dennis Irwin. Ferguson, without scouting anything else, can he sign Cantona? And it's a monumental one. Ferguson himself almost went to Arsenal before going to United. You think about 99, you're a goal down with a minute to go, and fate intervenes. You think about Eric Ten Hag could have went to Spurs, right? Didn't happen. Now he is the most popular manager at United, really, since Ferguson. You think about Ronaldinho. Had United have signed Ronaldinho, they might not have signed Ronaldo. And then I think about Brentford. If Brentford doesn't happen, do they sign Casemiro? Because they were going for Adrian Rabiot, right? And even Lisandro Martinez could have went to Arsenal. United got him in the end. These massive twists of fate that almost didn't happen turn out to be so big.
But do you genuinely think that Manchester United weren't in for Casemiro? I don't know. I think that was always the plan. I think Ten Hag had a strategy when he came to this club, and he named players that he wanted to bring to this club, and said, "I want a certain amount of these players, and I need a certain amount of these players." I probably agree with you that Casemiro wasn't a priority until that game, but I definitely think that he was on the list. There's no way that they just went and took him out of nowhere.
Here's the thing about United's transfers over the summer, right? Casemiro wasn't mentioned at all, ever, right? Until after that. I think United did have some alternatives to De Jong. To be fair, they always did say if they didn't get De Jong, and I think they had to press the button on that immediately after Brentford and say, we can't wait anymore, we have to make these signings. Casemiro wasn't obvious. I mean, when Casemiro was, I remember when it was announced they were going to sign him, there was shock, right? There was no journalist had it, and there's people inside United. I mean, people like Andy Mitten that are exceptionally well connected with people who get everybody information. A lot of it they can't reveal, and I didn't hear anyone. I mean, I spoke to people inside United about other people, other players, and Casemiro was never mentioned. I mean. Again, I think that's a Ten Hag signing. I don't think that was a result of United through a process of elimination, because they could have got Casemiro, weeks before that. I think that was a result of United looking at other alternatives and Ten Hag saying, this is exactly the type of player I want. I mean, we've gone from signing Vince Papali to Casemiro, right? I mean, abject garbage. And even when you look at this January signings, and I'll give you your dues. You sat in this podcast a week or two ago and defended Wout Weghorst, and I wasn't, was keen on that because I didn't like his goal return. He was absolutely immense yesterday.
Not just yesterday though, and I was actually looking forward to this conversation, right? Because I've had this out with professional footballers. I've had it out with you, who's a professional argumentative something. I've had it out with so many people about Wout Weghorst. I actually had a guy come up to me at Wembley yesterday and say, if Hightower's starting today, that's it, I'm finished. I listened to you and Phil on the podcast, you're miles off it. He was a nice guy too. A guy from Chorley. I forget his name now. But a really nice guy, and he told me what
Salute my comrade there.
Yeah. He said, Phil's so right about him, you're wrong. We need to reinforce. And see, to be honest, I want Wout Weghorst here next season. I want Wout Weghorst to be signed long term to Manchester United. Whether I would take him next season,
not as a starting striker, but I would take him.
Okay,
for sure.
Well, he might start. He brings so much to this side, not just to this side. I don't know if you've seen the clip. I seen it at the time when Rashford scored. I don't know if you've seen it. He celebrates with everyone, and then him and Weghorst embraced, and there was something there. They've got a partnership. Everything's opening up now. There's players that are working for each other. At the end, I don't know if I haven't watched it on TV back. But did it show at the end when everyone was in the circle together? I think there was only one or two players missed it, and they were all in a circle together. It was the unity between them in the centre circle. Did they show that on TV?
I'm not sure because
okay, so once
I was in a bar yesterday and was Bedlam. I might have missed it, but
you were. I'm sure. I don't even want to think about what you were up to. But see at the very end of the game,
you being a police informant. Go ahead.
Exactly. Whenever the whistle went, the whole team got into a circle, into a huddle towards midfield and just embraced. And like, that's what we need. Mm-hmm. That's the unity we need amongst the side, and that's something that's been missed out. And we'll go back to times of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? and we think about Ole Gunnar was an unbelievable player for Manchester United. And you know what? He wasn't a bad manager up to a point. But there
Yeah.
became a point when he's too friendly, he's too nice, he has too many friends in that team that he doesn't want to upset certain individuals. And like it's just so telling about how this grip Ten Hag has on the team and what he can do because he doesn't care about egos. He doesn't care who he upsets. It's all about the team.
Some of the differences between I remember when we were doing this podcast under Solskjaer, and one of the things that you were repeatedly saying quite rightly was United were reactive, not proactive. I trusted that Ten Hag would have a game plan for anything that Newcastle threw at United to execute it. They wouldn't have to fall behind to react. If they did fall behind, I would still trust them to get back in the game. I mean, even in that Barcelona game, we had 1-0 down. I still felt confident they would come back and win it. And I felt that way for a long time. And I know United have won trophies sporadically in the past, but one of the reasons why this feels so different, Van Gaal was sacked the day after he won the FA Cup, primarily because of what was going on in the league. There's a trust in this United team that I haven't had really since Ferguson, and I trusted they would go out and beat Barcelona in the home leg. A confidence I haven't had about United in a long, long time going into games. A confidence going into the Liverpool game next week that I haven't had. When was the last time you approached the game against Liverpool with this much confidence? It was trepidation last season, right? It was just look us in the eye at the end of the game, where you fight for the shirt. If you lose, you lose. But they couldn't even do that. And the contrast between that, I mean, you saw that little clip of Casemiro bollocking Bruno at the end of the game for not passing.
But that's what I like.
Yes, I know.
That's what we need.
The standards are massive now. And what United haven't had for a long time is big players that come up in key moments. One of the things I said about Rashford is I wasn't sure if he was a great player or if he was a good player in great form. And you answer those questions in big games. You don't answer those questions against Bournemouth. You don't answer those questions against Leeds. You answer those questions in the big games. Rashford scored away to Barcelona, made the second goal. He wasn't great in the second game. He didn't look 100% fit to me in that game. And fatigue got on top of him. Then, of course, United go into a big game at Wembley. Casemiro steps up. Rashford steps up in those moments. And that's how you answer the question whether you're good or whether you're great. Because if you look at all the big games in world football, whether it's a World Cup final, European Cup final, that's where greatness announces itself, where people show up in those moments, where people, they're not flat track bullies. They're people that in big moments hold their nerve. Ten Hag talked about this after the game about Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro. They know how to win trophies. De Gea knows how to win trophies. There's certain players in that United team, Varane as well, they come up big. Varane kicks a ball for line against Barcelona. That's how you show greatness to me.
But as well, the players like Fred's became such an important part of this team, right? He's became pivotal in big games. He's probably one of the first names on Eric Ten Hag's team sheet. Against Liverpool, he will be the first name on Ten Hag's team sheet. I guarantee. Well, maybe second after Casemiro. But the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people give Fred pelters, right? A lot of people come at me straight away the minute I mention Fred's name. He's an easy target. Again, I thought he was brilliant. I don't know. I haven't watched it back. What was he like on TV? For me, watching it, he was everywhere.
I put it up during the Barcelona game where I felt that he reminded me a lot of Ji-sung Park, and people, Ji-sung Park was a million times better, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure I agree with that. Ji-sung Park was an exceptional player, don't get me wrong. But there's things that Fred does that doesn't catch the eye that are so important. And I saw it again yesterday. The way he tracks runners, the way he always is in a position to break up attacks on the edge of the box. I saw him do it against Leeds so many times. He got booked again yesterday, right? Doesn't get sent off, right? Gets brought off for Sabitzer, who come on and was at an energy near the midfield. And even though Newcastle controlled possession, I still felt United controlled the game. I thought Thursday had a bit of an impact on United and how they played. They couldn't press. They had to sort of sit back a bit, counter-attack. But I don't remember Newcastle creating really anything. Maybe with the exception of St. Maximum's shot that De Gea saved. They didn't really create anything that worried us, and it looked like United had them completely under control. Wan-Bissaka, I thought, came on, and the worst place in the world to be against Wan-Bissaka is on a one-on-one, attacking him, because you're not going to beat him. And and Newcastle obviously had to attack, being 2-0 down. So they knew, I thought they put Dallo on the first half to try to pin St. Maximin back. Second half, put Wan-Bissaka on. And that is something that I think United would lose if you lose Wan-Bissaka. The ability to change tactically in games where if you're 2-0 up, you don't need the third goal. You get that second goal, you don't need the third. And then you can put someone like Wan-Bissaka on. And honestly, what St. Maximin get brought off with about 20 minutes to go. And so, because Wan-Bissaka had him in his pocket. He deserves huge credit. Fred, like I said, does so much that doesn't get appreciated. And
But that's like Weghorst too, because
yeah, no, I agree.
what Weghorst is doing isn't appreciated.
I mean,
Yes, and I
Weghorst was
get it.
really important for that second goal.
Yeah, and I do understand people say, look, he's not adding goals, he should as a striker. But his main role is not to add goals into this team. And it's understanding that and understanding the concept of this team and how we're playing football. Yes, I would prefer if he chipped in with a few goals. At the minute, he's not doing it, but he's still performing unbelievable. I hope Wan-Bissaka doesn't cut his toenails, because honest to God, this guy, he is the best tackler I've ever seen in my life. He just scoops it. I've never seen anything like it, honestly. Watching it yesterday as well. He's like road runner. He's so deceptively fast as well. And again, someone I give pelters to in this podcast, and I need to give him credit where it's due is Anthony. I thought he was great when he came on yesterday, and I am very quick to jump down his throat. And I think these are the things that are all happening now. Players that we, in previous years, would be disappointed coming on off the bench are now impressing us. Like, you've got serious options on your bench. Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony. Like, they're good options.
But, the other thing is, like I said, whenever United were in finals before, I was nervous because you didn't know what to expect. You didn't know what United were going to turn up. Now you know there's a ceiling that United are not going to, or Floyd United are not going to fall to. They're not going to come out and play absolutely appalling. Ten Hag won't allow that. And his preparation is impeccable. His, one of the things that doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion, is what he's done mentally to players. That's the hardest part, right? Because these guys all have ability, exceptional ability, but to get them right mentally is hard, especially when there's muscle memory, when the walls have memory, when you've been in a place where anyone that's suffered hated going to work because they hate the place, knows how difficult it is to turn that around and to then go in and have a positive atmosphere in a place where the walls have memory, where you associate darkness with it. I think what he has done to get those players in a frame of mind where not just the best version of themselves, but to play for each other and to love playing for this team, to love playing for their manager, to trust their manager, to respect him, and to understand that if they do what he tells them, and this is one of the reasons why yesterday was so important, they will be successful, they will win trophies. And to see some of the players yesterday celebrating who just 6 months ago, looked like the last place they wanted to be in the world was on a football pitch, to me was probably one of the most impressive things Ten Hag has done at this football club. And those that are trying to discredit it's only the Carabao Cup, was he not supposed to win it? Because if he hadn't have won it, he'd have been slaughtered, he'd have been criticised, he'd have been called a fraud and all this nonsense, right? So the fact that he has won it, and the fact that this is obviously the first chapter closed in Ten Hag's story at United, and I think the rest of football is on notice now that Manchester United aren't going anywhere.
I think it's telling as well the way last night there was subdued celebrations from the squad. They got on a flight back, and Ten Hag said in his open statement that we're under the West Ham game now. That's so important. He's not happy. He is happy, of course, but he's not stopping there. And I genuinely said, you laughed at me at this, and I know I said it as a joke. Well, it wasn't a joke. It was a joke with a jag. I said, I want to win every trophy we're in. And you said, I know, mate, but we need to be realistic. And at the time, it was completely... And I understand where people were coming from. I was getting pelters in the comments, but really, like, we should be looking to win every trophy. We should still believe right now that we can win the league, because I believe we can. There's not a game I'm looking at that we have coming up that I don't fancy us to win, and that's the truth.
No, I would agree, and when that illustrates how much has changed, where we've gone from I can't see the next 3 points is coming from to where I can't see the next defeat is coming from. And I don't want to tempt fate here, right? But even if United don't win the league this year, they'll be one of the favourites next season. Once Ten
Oh,
Hag gets his striker, a consistent goal scorer. I mean, Ferguson said this yesterday himself. United are a bit reliant on Rashford too much for goals, right? Once he gets that other striker, I mean, I would trust this Mama nuclear coach. I mean, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows everything, um, and United have to make sure they get out of his way. Right? I don't think United will make the same mistakes they've made in the past. I think Ten Hag has too much of a presence at the football club for anyone to really mess with him. And let's have it right. I mean, Ronaldo lost a fight with Ten Hag. There's nobody inside United that could undermine him that would survive. So this is a big, big summer for United.
I think
Obviously, there's a lot changing the football club, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I mean, I haven't felt this good about a manager since Ferguson.
I actually think this is the most important summer since Ferguson left, and I think it's fair to say that. Forget about everything else that's happened over the years. This is so pivotal in terms of how we move going forward. And I do want to mention something yesterday with Harry Maguire ignoring the Glazers, because I think that was Harry Maguire making a point. And if
I
you
didn't see
notice,
that,
this
did
is
I?
he ignored the Glazers who outstretched a hand to him. I think and were trying to shake his hand as he went up to get the trophy and ignored them. And I think Ten Hag, of
Fair
course,
play to him.
shook their hands. Ten Hag shook their hands, but Harry Maguire is someone who, for his ego, and someone who rates himself as a footballer, who starts for England, who is the Manchester United club captain, and he's not starting every game. He hasn't been how the media would like to portray him. He hasn't been that guy who's threw his head up. He hasn't come out in the media and said things. He's just literally been working behind the scenes and trying to get himself back into that. Yeah, I laughed as well. I mean, I could see it from where I was and it was crazy, but like he's working behind the scenes to get himself back into the squad. I think it's really important that we note that from Harry Maguire, because Harry Maguire could be sulking and just throwing his heads up. I want to leave. I'm going to leave this summer. He's not. And I mean, like, he's been very, very, what's the word? Very important to fans, and very, like, he's with us. Watch his Instagram story. I don't know if it is him that's speaking. I don't know if it's him that's using his Instagram. But whoever's doing it is doing the right thing, and they're trying to make a point. Harry Maguire, I think, is here to stay, and I hope he is. I hope he can work his way back into the team. I like him as a backup centre back. I've said this from the start, and I know we disagree on it, and there's different reasons why we disagree. But I genuinely like Harry Maguire, and I think he deserves a chance, and hopefully he does get his chance.
I don't dislike him. I just don't see any way that he starts when Varane and Martinez are fit. And for a guy
Yeah,
that you quite rightly said plays for England, he won't keep playing for England if he doesn't start games. I mean, he has a big decision to make this summer. And I think Maguire was resigned himself to the fact that he's not going to get in that United team ahead of Varane and Martinez. He's really in a. He's not even in a fight with two centre backs. He's in a fight with one, which is the right-footed centre back, because when Martinez doesn't play, Shaw plays, and you could argue that Lindelof, is 50-50 with that. I mean, even Lindelof has a big
yeah,
decision to make this
yeah,
summer. I think United will be shrewder in the market and how they sell this summer. I think those United players that, if they want to sell this summer, will go for more money because of the way United are playing. Right? You're not selling players off the back of a poor season where their values have dropped. You're selling players off the back of a positive season where you can turn around and say, I mean, to me, arguably, Maguire may be worth more this summer than what he was worth last summer, even though he
yeah.
hasn't played as
And even
much.
though he hasn't played, I agree with you.
Because there's a good reason why he's not playing, right? And you could easily turn around and get 40 million from Maguire, in my opinion, in the right team. So I think those are decisions that Ten Hag is going to be ruthless on and has to be ruthless on. And I think when you won't remember this, but I remember when Ferguson came into United, he had to make big decisions. He had to get rid of big players that didn't fit the ambience of the football club. Whiteside, McGrath, players like that, and so he had to get rid of players that were very, very popular at the football club. I think Ten Hag will do that this summer. I think for Maguire, he has a bit of Romelu Lukaku in the sense that he doesn't fit the way Ten Hag wants to play, and there's going to be so few games where Maguire even fits the way Ten Hag plays. He arguably could have played yesterday where United didn't have a high press, right? I mean, they let Newcastle have the ball, but still, you look at Lisandro Martinez. I mean, that is the guy made in a lab for Manchester United. That is a guy that's not just exceptional. He's brave. He's a fighter. He fights for the club. He fights for the badge. He personifies everything that a fan wants to see in a footballer. Varane, right? I mean, you look at Varane last season, right? This wasn't the Rafael Varane that we saw. Varane played 20 games last season in the Premier League. That means he missed almost half a season. That's the other thing that's so impressive about Ten Hag is he's not just getting consistency out of these players, he's keeping them fit. Rashford's been fit, and they want to play through the pain barrier. When they're carrying an act, they still want to play. They're not, you look at Cavani. Cavani was picking his games, right? That's not happening anymore. Cavani wasn't the only one, by the way, right? I mean, you heard Ranić talk about this. Players constantly injured, right? Why do we have the most injuries in the league? Right, United had the most injuries in the league last season. They don't this season. Steve McLaren deserves enormous credit. Benny McCarthy deserves enormous credit.
Benny McCarthy, I mean, just the work he's done with Rashford alone. Rashford was someone who could do everything but score in previous seasons. His finishing was lackluster. Didn't really show much in terms of, apart from when he really broke on the scene that time against Midtjylland and Arsenal. In those two games, I remember that season he was great, and then his finishing. Don't know, but I mean, the work Benny McCarthy's done with him has been exceptional. We can see it. I mean, even this summer when you're thinking about it, get rid of the deadwood. I think Martial probably goes.
Has to go.
I think there's a case for McTominay leaving. I like McTominay, but I think there's a case for him leaving. One of Lindelof and Maguire should leave. One of them. I could see possibly one of the right backs leaving if we're going to sign a right back. But which one do you let go? Because Wan-Bissaka has been like a player completely refound his form this year.
I'm not certain it wouldn't be Dalot that gets replaced.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, I'm not certain.
Because I think what United need on the right is they need a top quality right wing back. And Dalot is a decent player, a good player, but he's not that. And the thing about Wan-Bissaka and McTominay is they give you tactical variation. It's not surprising to me McTominay's come on for Weghorst the last couple of games. He's 6'4", right? And you can really I think Ten Hag would keep McTominay if he wants to stay. The question will be, will McTominay want to stay and be a bit part player? Because that would be interesting to see what happens when Eriksen comes back, right?
If they sign Sabitzer as well.
Yeah, but Wan-Bissaka to me is someone that gives you that tactical variation whenever wasn't he brought on against Barcelona as well at halftime? So I think he's someone that, isn't going to give you an awful lot going forward. He's not great on the ball. But if you're sitting on a 2-0 lead, you bring Wan-Bissaka on and you're a winger, the worst place in the world is to take Wan-Bissaka on one-on-ones because he's probably the best defender he's in the league at one-on-ones. I mean, there's a reason why it was called Spider Legs. Even Zaha talked about this. Everyone's talked about this. And his skill set is obvious. So, to me, I think it's not certain. I think they will want to right back, but it's not certain who they're going to replace to me.
And again, we've said this before, the grass isn't always greener. Who is out there as a right back that stands out in your head right now? They're very few and far between. Someone that sticks out in your head for I honestly can't really think off the top of my head right now who I'd want. Can you?
You know what, man? I can't. But here's the thing: if you to turn around and said to me in the summer about who they'd have wanted to sign ahead of, ahead of De Jong, I probably wouldn't have said Casemiro. because they don't watch
Yeah, it's
enough of
true.
Spanish football. Until you get a world class player in that position and you see the contrast of what you had before, then you realise, what we were missing. And that also brings the best out of Anthony, in my opinion, because once, if you look at Casemiro's bringing the best out of Fred, once you play in a midfield where you have a telepathic understanding, then you get the best out of each other. Luke Shaw is playing some of the best football of his career. He had a moment when he was playing exceptional football in Memphis Depay before he broke his leg, and then he went downhill. So I think that matters how they play on the right together. How you overlap with the player. How that understanding. So I think that will also bring more out of Anthony and young Garnacho, because Garnacho was at the Barcelona game. He was hauled off at halftime.
Yeah.
No, wasn't he? Come on the Barcelona game. Who did I play before that? He was taken off. Was it? It was
It was the other
It was
Barcelona
Leicester.
game?
It was
Was it not the
Leicester.
other Barcelona? Oh,
No, it
was
was
that the
Leicester.
was you right? Yeah.
He get taken off at halftime because United were getting hurt down the right. And once you get a right back in that position that you can completely trust in 90% of your games, and I'm not sure Dallo has that trust yet.
But I think as well, like I'm worried about a potential burnout. The amount of games is insane,
Yeah, I know.
absolutely insane. Like you think we win here on Wednesday night against um, West Ham in the FA Cup, then you're through the next round of the FA Cup.
Yeah,
You have to play Betis twice. You've got all your Premier League games. You've got potentially another round of the FA Cup if you win the next round. Like the games are endless, man. Right until the end of the season, we're playing 2 games every single week. We need a big squad, and we need players who are readily replaceable. So Dallo and Wan-Bissaka right now are interchangeable for me. Either or works.
yeah, I agree. I want to move the conversation on from that a bit to some of the ownership stuff, and to first of all start with the comments of Wayne Rooney last week, which were completely unnecessary, completely hypocritical, and completely wrong. First of all, he said the Glazers bought him 2004, which is bullshit, because he didn't own the club in 2004. It had nothing to do with the Glazers. So he was wrong on that. Secondly, this is a guy that has had one controversy after another off the pitch. United fans sung his name repeatedly, worshipped him. They certainly supported him through some of the hardest times in his career. And your heroes always disappoint you in the end. There was absolutely no need for Wayne Rooney to come out and say what he did. He will know exactly what he's saying. I don't know what's in it for him, but there's clearly something in it for him to say what he said. And at a time when United fans are desperate to get their football club back from, let's have it right, parasitic owners that have done nothing but bleed this football club dry, and we'll get into them being there yesterday, it really angered me, really disappointed me. A guy who himself claimed in 2012 he wanted to join Manchester City because United lacked ambition, which of course is a direct result of what the owners are doing. Then got an exorbitant contract, and all of a sudden they did have ambition. I mean, I just wish the interviewer had the knowledge to push back on that, because if Wayne Rooney had said that to you, me, or anyone else that has the slightest clue about United's history, it would have immediately put that back on him and saying, well, why did you say in 2012 the club lacked ambition? And by the way, they didn't buy in 2004, right? But why did you say that? Because who exactly were you saying that about? Were you saying that about Ferguson? Were you saying about David Gill? Were you saying that because their ambition is a direct correlation to their ability to spend? And he was right at the time, by the way. They did lack ambition because
Yeah.
they were coming out of that financial crisis. They didn't have the money.
And I mean, it's funny as well that we hear all these things now. Again, I don't read too much into it, and I know you're a bit philosophical in terms of you read
Don't you
into
call me
things a
Peter
lot.
Drury again now?
Calm down, Peter Drury. No, but I don't really read into the comments. I mean, Wayne Rooney is Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney says a lot of nonsense 99% of the time.
Yeah, I
Let's be
mean,
honest.
he's a massive football player across the world. It's just totally unnecessary. It's
It, no,
totally
no, I'm
unnecessary. It
not saying it
doesn't need to
wasn't
be said.
unnecessary. It was definitely unnecessary, but I don't read too much into it, to be honest. I don't think he has anything to gain from it, which to me just tells me he's stupid, and I don't understand why he mentioned it, because there's nothing in my head that I can think of that he would have gained from those comments.
Well, I mean, to me, I think Wayne Rooney had an opportunity right then and there to cement himself. There's a lot of things United fans don't forgive and don't forget, right? They forgive a lot. But this bullshit is something they don't forgive because it's unforgivable, right? They've ripped the soul out of this football club. They have bled it dry. They've sodomized this football club. They've taken every piece of this football club's history and sold it to the highest bidder, to anyone, right? And Wayne Rooney, all he had to do was shut his mouth and show a bit of solidarity with the United fans that have shown it to him through time and time again and say, even if he wants to straight bat it and say, look, I don't really know the ins and outs. You know, United fans obviously want change at the football club, and something that lots of players have come out and said, and fans are the most important part of the football club. It would have been a throwaway comment and nothing would have been said. But as soon as you come out and say, I've done a great job, it's like, as I've said before, it's like the man that steals your watch telling you the time, saying, thank you very much for telling me the time, you've done a great job, mate. Absolutely not.
I would love someone just to put the music of Peter Drury's commentary alongside that little snippet there of 30 seconds. If anyone listening can do that for me, I will pay you.
What about you, mate?
Because the little boy from Rosario at the start, you know, when he gets into that kind of conversation and the music plays, made that speech about Rooney, though, was exceptional. That was Peter Drury-esque. I actually think we should forward you on the NBC and stuff for commentary. Mate, it's there.
NBC don't want anything to do with me, I can assure you of that. I've already got work there. But no, it just disappointed me. It really did. And it just was completely unnecessary and completely undermined what United fans are trying to do at such a key moment. So I don't believe there wasn't anything in it for him. He knew exactly what he was doing right there. He knew exactly what he was doing. His kid is in United's academy, right? He's intimately connected with the football club. He knows about fan culture. He knows exactly how United fans feel and why they feel the way they feel.
Do you genuinely think that there's a chance that the Glazers stay because now we are deemed successful or on the way to become successful? I personally can't see that happening.
The Glazers don't judge success by how many trophies you win. The Glazers judge success by how.
I get that.
Yeah, but let's say this, right? I want to say this because
bringing money though.
Hold on. Even if United won the league, the FA Cup, the Europa League, all that, it still doesn't generate anywhere close to enough money for the Glazers to be able to fund the football club properly, right? In some sense, it puts them even under more pressure to allow Ten Hag to do what he wants this summer, right? So the Glazers don't celebrate these trophies the way you and I do. Now, we're United fans. They're not United fans, right? I've said this before. If you turned around to Avram Glazer and said, in this envelope, you open it, means we win the Premier League, the European Cup, the FA Cup, League Cup in one season, or in this envelope, there's 100 million in your back pocket. Which one do you want, Avram? You know which one he's picking. These are people whose metric of success is based on profit and loss column, not a win-loss column. They don't care about trophies unless it translates into money. I remember David Gill turning around saying before, listen, the difference between qualifying for the semi-final of the Champions League and winning it, right, is about 16 million. But it would cost us about 100 million to go out and buy the players needed to make sure we win the Champions League. Financially, it doesn't make sense. These are the metrics that they use. Woodward and Richard Arnold were the two highest paid executives in world football for the last decade. By what football magic have they been successful? This is a club losing 2 million a week. If the Glazers want to do a partial sale, they own 69% of Manchester United. To retain full control, they'd have to sell 18%. That would bring in a couple of 100 million, right? It's nowhere near enough to fund the stadium. It's nowhere near enough to even pay the money that they owe on current transfers or to make a dent in the debt. Would they refinance? Probably, but they're not going to get it on favourable terms. The Glazers are not in a financial position to stay in this football club. They won't be vibing off winning the Carabao Cup, trust me.
No, right? I understand that, right?
No, I'm just saying like that. The way they look at it will be different. But would they want to stay? Of course they want to stay. If some idiot wants to come along and give them a bunch of money to stay, they take it.
Well, here's my worry, right? They were quick to come out and say whenever the the heating was cranked up a bit, right? They were quick to come out and say that, yep, we're open to offers. The share price, this is what I was actually getting onto, has gone down 12%, right? Why have they not come out and made a statement to say we're still actively looking to sell the club? Because it would be within their interest to
Because,
do
no,
so.
no, it would be under they'd have to do the opposite. They'd have to come out and do what FSG did and say they're no longer actively looking to sell the club. Look, the thing is, Rain Group want to sell the football club. If I'm the Glazers, I don't want to appear desperate to sell. Rumours that I want to stay are helpful to pushing up the price, right? The reason why the Glazers want to sell this football club is because they can no longer squeeze cash out of it. Now, two things that would concern me. They move lock and step with FSG. They're very, very close to them. When FSG took Liverpool off the market, Glazers will have noted that. Secondly, the ruling against Man City will have emboldened them because now all of a sudden, maybe, just maybe, there's a glimmer of hope that the price of mediocrity is not going to get continue to pushed up. Wages are not going to continue to get pushed up, all that. But they're at a point, a crossroads, where Manchester United need a major cash injection. Not even if United win all 4 trophies, it changes nothing about how much debt they're in, how much they owe, how much needs to be put in, how much they need for a stadium. All that will still remain, right? If Barcelona win the league this year, there's still going to be a major financial strife. So, and Ten Hag this summer, I mean, if the Glazers think they're unpopular now, go try and tell Ten Hag you can't send a top-class striker this summer, right? And now that they've let this genie out of the bottle, it's going to be really, really hard to put it back in. So, partial investment, they'd have to sell 18%. 18% appraises at a couple of hundred million. There's no potential for that. That is actually possibly refinancing. But even then, you're talking about higher interest rates than what you're getting right now. So and they're still in a position where they have to put hundreds of millions of their own money into the football club that they don't want to do. So I mean, I've done podcasts on Jim Ratcliffe and the Qatari, so I'm not going to exhaust that issue. But I don't think the Glazers look at this completely differently. They look at it through a heartless financial lens, and the rest of their siblings couldn't give a shit about what United win or don't win, right? They don't care. They are purely about profit, and that's all they care about. So I don't see anything changing.
Glazers out, United are back. We're going to win the quadruple. That's it. Clip this. Remind me about this
This
at the
is
end.
true too.
New tractors to come in soon.
Yes. So
that's why Phil's moving back to Belfast next month, lads.
the Irish Willie Nelson dodging taxes. But taxes are for wimps. But seriously, no, it is I still don't think much will change. I still think the reason, I mean, FSG don't have a massively leveraged football club, right? They're 100 million in debt. If United were 100 million in debt, they'd have lots of room for manoeuvre, right? I don't think that the Glazers are in that position, and so I don't see how they can string it out much longer. So we will see. We man, quick prediction for West Ham.
I don't like saying this, but I said the last 2 games, I think we'll beat them handily enough. I think fancy 3-1 United. I think going to be a big game against Liverpool this weekend. Go in 3 big wins on the bounce. Beat Liverpool at Anfield. Absolutely loving life. My dad and brother are big Liverpool fans, so it's extra special for me whenever it comes around like this, and I haven't been able to feel like this about this game in a long time. So
I would love United just to go and murder Liverpool in Anfield. Absolutely love it. Right?
We need to after what they've done.
Oh, well, after last season, mate. I mean, and I think United are going to be desperate to go out and do that. And make no mistake, I watched them against Palace, mate. They are muck. They are a mess. And Klopp, by the way, looks like a guy who is completely out of ideas on how to fix this. I mean, they are so beatable right now. And I think they're not going to change until the summer. They need major work. So they're there for the taking, and I want to see United go out and absolutely batter them. and I think they'll beat West
That's
Ham too. So we will be back after West Ham and Liverpool next Monday.
Yep.
So you think your moustache will have come in by then?
Come on, isn't it? But the London birds seem to love it, so it's what matters, isn't it?
Which ones? The seagulls?
Yeah, the seagulls, mate. I was getting
All right, mate. That's all before I leave.
Right.
Don't ever use my way. Get some kip.
That's it.
Take it easy, wee man.
See
See
you
you later,
later,
mate.
mate.
Cheers,
Good luck.
folks. Bye.